Now let's move on to two politicians addressing only the most ignorant of fears of their electorate. Is there anything more grotesque than Andrew Cuomo and Chris Christie having a joint press conference? I'd argue no. You'll recall Thursday night, I believe it was. Was it Thursday night? Following the finding of a doctor who had returned from West Africa. It was in, where did he come from? Guinea, I believe it was. He was working there. He's a New York-based doctor working with Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. And what happens is this organization, Doctors Without Borders, it just seeks volunteers, doctors who have regular jobs, who basically apply for a leave from their own, they're working at a hospital, they're working in a practice, and they go over there for only a couple of weeks at a time because Doctors Without Borders knows that these people are in the worst of circumstances, watching a tremendous amount of pain, suffering, and death. A lot of these people come back and suffer some form of post-traumatic stress syndrome. And this doctor had followed the protocol suggested by Doctors Without Borders, which is to basically self-isolate more or less and to do rigorous self-monitoring. He did. As soon as his temperature rose to 100.3, called health services. He was placed in quarantine. He's doing okay, not great right now. There's what they do is they provide an intense regimen of hydration, etc. He's in Bellevue. Following the press conference, and I don't know if I had mentioned this on Friday's show, but I had tweeted out, I'm not tweeting that much these days, but it was clear at the press conference that Cuomo was desperate to get in on this. And I mean, it was pathetic. De Blasio was there, obviously. It's a city situation. De Blasio is more or less moderating the panel because de Blasio is not a doctor. And so he defers to the experts. Cuomo, desperate to be seen as the guy in charge, kept reiterating what the doctors were saying. Literally, it was... I mean, it was like, it reminded me of, with all due respect to my father, who I know is not listening, when I was 15 and having a conversation with some other adult, my father would cut me off to reiterate what I had just said.
If Andrew Cuomo reminds you of your father, I think this is starting to explain some of the roots of the obsession we have here.
This is the first time I have to say that Cuomo has responded, but it was just a sad... No, I can understand it. If there were 15-year-olds up there, instead of perhaps some of the most competent public health officials in the world.
Well, I think it's because to Obama's credit, like he hugged the nurse who was cleared of the symptoms, the other day, and he's just said really consistently, we need to trust science on this not freak out. And the contrast was really amazing.
So Cuomo, I mean, I can give you a sense, and this is complete conjecture on my part. But the moment that it became clear that there was an Ebola patient in New York, I would put the chances of Cuomo high-fiving or fist-bumping some of his campaign officials in his office somewhere around 98 to 99%. Complete conjecture on my part. But what is quite clear is that following that press conference, he huddled with his people and said, I can't let de Blasio be the face of this. We're not going to have an Ebola patient fly into Albany or Syracuse or Elmira. So I got to get out in front of this now. Who's the scummiest guy I can have a press conference with who's probably trying to put himself out in front of this too? Oh, great. Of course, Chris Christie. We control the Port Authority. We can talk about this.